Hi, this is Marco Cantù from the studio in Scotts Valley, and with me online is Luis Navarro. We do have partially a live product address and with some recorded demos, so it will be kind of a mix. But the goal of this session is really to go through what the product is today, but not really just focus specifically on the features that are today in Delphi and specifically in Delphi 10 Seattle, because there will be, well, like 20 plus sessions that are going to focus on specific features over the next 3 days. So we don't want to like create a summary of the follow-up. So just highlighting a few features and also providing kind of an overview of where the product is, where it's going, what's important. So that's the idea. Wait. So as I was mentioning, I'm here live, and Luis is actually online from Spain. We'll both be available for Q&A afterwards. And for now, I'm going to drive it, and there will be a demo done by Luis later on. So the focus is understanding the product direction, look a little bit of some use case scenarios, understanding again where we are and where we are going. We're going to demo some selected features, not spending too much time. Hopefully there will be a couple of surprises along the demos, just not to repeat the preview that the product launch that we did. So it's not a copy of the product launch, although a few slides are actually the same. If you want to get all of the information about Delphi 10 Seattle, what's in the product, you can refer to the product launch. You can refer to the deep dive that was done. We already have a lot of available assets. So try not to repeat that, but give a slightly different spin. So first is understanding where the product is heading. We are not specifically going to spend a lot of time talking about future in terms of roadmap, but understanding the product direction is today kind of gives a lot of information about what's coming along tomorrow. So the way we describe the product is the ultimate development platform for Windows, Mac, mobile, and IoT. Windows remains at the core of the product. The VCL remains the most used library that ships with Delphi. But we have reached really beyond Windows onto Mac and onto mobile, and that's happened over the last few years. The mobile story is getting stronger and stronger over time, and the need of mobile application alongside with Windows 10 is now a given. It's not even an option. And the new area we're expanding into is the Internet of Things, for which we are providing core building blocks, and we are slowly entering into providing ready-to-use components and easier building blocks. There are a few things that are core to Delphi from the ground up, being a data. I mean, it used to be database. Now data is even outside traditional databases, but it's really focused on data, focused on connectivity, focused on building great visual applications. And there are a few things that our customer has told us about the release, which we kind of like to share. Stability is certainly a core tenet of Delphi 10 Seattle with the new IDE as we'll see. But it's even beyond that. It's actually a pretty good release. It's a very nice one. And again, having this feedback is absolutely great. So I was saying there are a few tenets. We can summarize them with these three marketing words. If you want: data rich, hyper connected, and visually engaging. The data richness, it's not new to the product, has never been. From the BDE onwards, being able to do client server has been in the foundation, in the roots of the product from day one. And still there today is focused on FireDuck, which is an absolutely great library for relational database connectivity. And now it's been expanded and extended to go to cover NoSQL databases with MongoDB support, which is not just a small hook into MongoDB from a SQL perspective. It's a full native platform support for MongoDB with specific components that are tied to that platform. We also have access to JSON and XML. We redid the entire JSON mapping layer and JSON reading and writing layer for this release. So that's overly important data source these days. Hyper connected, again, is not terribly new, although there are some specific areas that we've pushed recently, from backend as a service provider support, improvements in the cloud support, and all of the Bluetooth LE connectivity layers that we've added to the product, which are, again, one of the foundations for Internet of Things connectivity. And the last bit is being visually engaging, really with either VCL or FireMonkey, depending if your focus is exclusively Windows or if your focus is multi-device. You have the ability to create great UIs, very fast, leverage third-party components in that process, and be extremely more productive than what most other tools out there allow you to. The focus of 10 Seattle, and even the name comes from that focus, is on Windows 10. Windows 10 is currently being the fastest version, the version of Windows with the fastest adoption rate. It is faster than Windows 8, which was easy to guess, but it's also faster than Windows 7. Now, these are in percentage terms. If you look at the absolute terms, the picture is actually even more interesting. Microsoft has had announced 75 million. They haven't, I don't know if they formally announced, but it's known that there are over 100 million Windows 10 installations now. So it is a platform that is really absolutely critical for any application developer to support and to target properly, which means going a little beyond and above, saying, yeah, it works, because Delphi application will generally work, but it's really supporting the platform for what it is, with its own UI, with its own specific components, with its own system integration. And we do have a product that's really ready in that respect. Now, the other thing that's interesting is that it's not just user adoption, which is certainly fostered by the fact that users, consumers can upgrade to Windows 10 for free. That's kind of helping quite a bit. But it's also the business adoption, which is expected to be extremely high, with 40% first year and like almost universal. I mean, 75% is a huge amount for a 2 years time frame. And again, considering that companies just moved off Windows XP, recently, it's like, and none of them has really moved considerably to Windows 8. That makes it even more relevant. So we do have an incredible Windows 10 support. We're going to highlight some of the actual specific details. The thing I wanted to mention here is that for the first time in a few releases, we've got back to VCL, and we've added 5 new VCL UI controls. That's a first. It's been quite a few years since we got back to add visual controls to the VCL. We added a bunch of controls that were like part of the ecosystem, but not specifically to the Windows UI. But again, the other side is Windows Universal Platform support, which I'll get to later. And yeah, that's the point. There are millions of users moving to Windows 10, and it's important to be there, to be ready to provide good support for the platform. The other side is that I already mentioned is pushing the stabilities, and that was done mainly through 2 steps, which is allowing the IDE to use twice as much memory, so you can build and debug larger projects. We have customers that were able to build in the IDE up to 37 million lines of code, which is a good size product. We also had a lot of features, and Luis is going to demo some of them later on. But again, the main point is the twice the memory, and also we redid some of the unit cache mechanisms. So it's really not just twice the memory, but it's also a better way of using and taking advantage of the available memory. It is a multi-device product. Now, in this presentation, I'm not going to focus too much on mobile. There will be a few demos. There'll be a couple of things. There are specific sessions later on FarmMonkey and on the mobile UI that I fully recommend. I mean, mobile is huge. I mean, as big as Windows 10 is becoming, it can really compete in absolute numbers with Android and with iOS and the platform. Some of the information that's floating around, and all of these numbers are really hard to consider like absolute truths, but some of the numbers are around as saying that Windows 10 is ultimately the third most popular operating system these days, with Android being clearly the number one and iOS second, which is kind of close to Windows. So like Windows and iOS are about at the same level, with Android really beating them with like 1.4, 1.5 billion of active users, which is a huge, absolutely huge number. The other side is IoT related, being IoT ready, being ready to support the new coming technologies at the low level and with some ready components. As I mentioned, one of the tenets is being rapid application development, so you can really deliver your applications faster on Windows and even faster across platforms, because you can have a single source and target mobile and desktop. Delphi 10 is serious business, and yeah, it's really nice to be told that we've hit our home run for those who understand baseball around the world. The other thing that's tied to the IDE, we've created this small little feature which could be a huge time saver, which is this auto recovery mechanism. I want just to mention very shortly, because we don't have that much time, some case studies. We've added a bunch, so just go to our website and have a look to some of these case studies. Some are actually great. Wide Orbit is creating a terrific business, mostly around using a lot of Delphi application, and we have some good friends there. Rockware is completely different world, completely different technology, mapping and geological mapping, and they're using FARDAC. They're using some of our technologies for their support. And BioNuclear is a health care company. They have clinical laboratories. They do the entire process using Delphi and Interbase. These are just a few mentions, but we do have a lot of details with the new case studies. And if you have built applications that are worth mentioning and adding to the list, just let us know. We'll be more than happy to add them. So let's go into some demos of some selected features. Again, it's not an overhaul. It's not a complete presentation. There's no room and no place. We'll start with this section by Luis.
Hello, I'm Luis Navarro, and I'm Rad Studio Product Manager. One of the primary focus on the latest release of Rad Studio has been to give extra power to the IDE, to better handle large projects with even millions of lines of code. Rad Studio IDE is now able to address up to 4 GB of memory to manage properly those huge projects. More memory management improvements, fixes, and refactorings have been accomplished, so Rad Studio is now stronger and smarter, and this is an instant benefit for any type of project. The other topic in this slide is the developer productivity. This means that we have implemented a lot of features focused in the daily coding work. For example, in this slide, the Object Inspector filter or the clipboard history are tools that I use every day. And the feedback from our customers about these improvements has been extremely positive. All these features save us time, and they do help producing better code and better applications. And now I'm going to do a quick overview of these productivity enhancements. Let's start from the menu View, Clipboard History tool. This window provides a history of the elements you copied in the clipboard. From this window, you can select an old copied item to be the one in the clipboard, or paste it directly into the editor. And now I'm going to use the navigation toolbar to go to the sample procedure and show you the multi-page tool. I have an SQL sentence copy from my SQL editor, and I want to add it to my query component in real time. This tool is going to save me a lot of time by repeating the same modification, adding code to all the lines on the clipboard. Smart keys. You have selected some text. You can surround it by parentheses by clicking the left parenthesis. And also, by pressing the home key, you can go to the beginning of the line. Press it again, and you will go to the beginning of the text. The structural highlighting keeps blocks of code grouped together, like you can see in this sample procedure. And the flow control highlighting highlights the use of procedures that interrupt the linear flow execution in your code. The navigation toolbar helps us navigating through the code and directly go to all the types in the current unit, and also to go to any of the procedures and functions in the unit. Pressing this Hide Show Non-Visual Components button on the View toolbar will allow developers to work in the design of the form in a better way. Ctrl-H is the shortcut for this operation. Let's see also that the structure pane now shows the corresponding icons for the components on the form to help identifying those components. And in the Object Inspector, there are a couple of improvements. The first of them is that now it's possible to filter its contents, for example, to search for a property. Now I'm searching for the left property to quickly change its value. And from the Object Inspector properties, now it's possible to hide the filter box, to show the description panel, etc. Another nice feature is the source code file auto recovery. And now I'm going to do a quick demo by simulating a system crash, by ending the task with the task manager. Then I will start the IDE again. And the first screen shown is the file recovery to recover all the files that haven't been saved. So the work is not lost. In Gedit, now we have categories plus other visual enhancements to help navigating the catalog. Gedit keeps growing, and it's the perfect way for us to keep adding value to RAD Studio. More libraries, components, add-ons, and tools will be soon available via Gedit, so stay tuned. Now it's time to show some of the improvements for multi-monitor environments. The first thing I'm going to do is move the multi-device preview to the secondary monitor. Now I'm going to place the object inspector side by side with the structure pane. Now I'm going to maximize this window so I can use the whole monitor. Now I'm going to place the project manager with the multi-device preview. I'm going to view also the messages. I like to have it here so I can have more space in the editor. I can add more windows with the clipboard history tool. I'm going to place it here. So it's a nice layout. I'm going to save it with the name multi-monitor. Okay. So I can easily switch from the default layout to the new multi-monitor layout. RAD Studio allows to develop mobile applications with background execution of tasks. In the case of an Android application, we can use the Android services. And for iOS, we have 9 different background execution modes. Let's focus now on Android. From the IDE, there is a wizard to create a new type of project that is Android service type. The new Android service project is automatically added to the project group. Then we can change the name of the service. After that, we compile the service. And this is necessary before adding it to the Android application. Once the process is completed, to add the service to the Android application, there is another wizard that is found on the context menu for the Android platform for the main Android application. There, we have to select the Android service space path and to confirm that everything is okay. On the deployment manager, we can easily verify that the service is included in the list of files to be deployed. For more information about Android services development, I highly recommend visiting Jim McKeith's blog at delphi.org. Great stuff there. And my last demo for today shows a VCL application sending messages to an Android service. The VCL application starts listening to connections from Android clients. There we go. We have the first one. Then we can send the first message to the Android applications. We got that first message from a Windows app. And we can close the Android application. The service is restarted, so we can see that the client is connected again. But the application is not running in foreground. The service is running in background. Then changing the message, we send the second message. The service gets that message in background, and we can bring this message to the application with my second message. And now is Marco's turn again.
Yes, thanks, Luis. I'm going to focus very shortly on some of the ideas around Windows 10 support and WinRT integration. First, let me explain 1 second what Universal Windows Platform means. Universal Windows Platform is just a model for development. It's not technically a runtime. There is a way to support Universal Windows Platform through direct WinRT development. There are ways to integrate with Universal Windows Platform, as we've done by doing WinRT mapping. And then there are projects to bring applications built outside of the core WinRT to Universal Windows Platform. One of them is Centennial, which is a project for next year, so we don't want to spend too much time on it now. And the second is Atoria, which we'll actually demo in a second. So what we do provide in the product is mapping of the WinRT API, so you can actually do Windows 10 notifications and support Windows 10 contracts out of the box. Of course, we have more than that in terms. This is like a slide for the notification, and you do have one for the contract, but actually have a live demo coming for notifications. As I mentioned, we have new VCL controls. We do have a lot of support for Windows 10 in terms of application styling. You can really have an application that looks and feels like a modern Windows 10 application rather than a Windows XP application recompiled and executed under Windows 10, which is what most of the original old Delphi application would probably look like. The 5 controls are relative panel, toggle switch, search box, split view, and activity indicator. So it's 5 brand new controls. These controls are mimic the WinRT UI controls, but they're completely built on the VCL. So application using these controls are expected to run also on Windows 7 and Windows 8. And yes, you can turn on the Windows 10 styling on those platforms if you want to, while the notifications are really specific to, and contrasts are really specific to Windows 10 because they require a specific runtime support. So let me show you this first demo of using notification, creating a notification. It's a very simple VCL app. I click on the button, and what happens is actually I get a notification. So you can really easily get that going. You can create more. You can get another. When the notification is when there is an interaction with the notification, that information is actually sent back to the application, as you can see in that memo. So it's a very simple model, and it's built around the notification center component, which is the same set component you can actually use on iOS and on Android. So same component that works across multiple platforms in FireMonkey, but you can also use that in the VCL. This is an example of the split view. Again, all of these demos are part of the product, so you can find them and play with them a little more afterwards. It's a very simple, nice UI. You can. It's called also a hamburger menu. You can organize it many different ways. There are lots of options. It's very flexible, and so it could really help you building an application that looks and behaves fully as a Windows 10 application. The other demo I have here is that I want to show is a demo of another new VCL control, which is the toggle switch. It's kind of a checkbox, but with a very specific and distinct UI. Of course, the UI is better if you enable some of the newer styling. So the traditional Windows style is kind of okay, but if you switch to one of the Windows 10 styles, it really makes a lot of sense. So it's a very nice control, brand new in the UI, although the behavior is not a completely new thing. Okay, so that's one of the demo I wanted to show. The other thing I want to focus a moment onto is Astoria. Astoria is one of the Windows Universal Platform bridges, and Astoria lets you run an Android APK on a Windows phone. Now, before we get to that question, oh yeah, but can you support Windows Phone natively? Oh, it is native. I mean, it's just compiled code that runs on an ARM CPU. So there's not an emulation layer. There's not an intermediate layer. The only thing that happens is that some of the Android APIs are really redirected into the corresponding Windows Phone APIs. For integration. Now, this is still in beta. There's still a lot of things that don't work, but it's already available if you can get onto the project and sign up from Microsoft. You need to get a phone that is, in my case, is a cheap Lumia that I'm using. And then what you do, you just create an application as usual, as I'm doing here. I'm just adding a button to the application, aligning the button, and then I'll add also an edit box and align that edit box as well. Oh, sorry, a label, and align that label just to have a way to display something onto. Just do some very, very simple UI development. I mean, it's really trivial, but I wanted to do something directly and quite fast. So just setting some margins to make this look decent on a mobile screen. And then what happened is that through a utility that's called WConnect, the Astoria plugin that you can download as an add-on to the Android SDK will basically make the Windows Phone look like another Android target. It's actually listed as an emulator, which is kind of a strange way of listing it. But what happens from the IDE perspective, once everything is configured, which takes a little, and in this case, it wasn't configured because WConnect lost the connection, so you have to execute it occasionally. re-executing the command line, wconnect xe USB to reconnect, and it's now connecting to the USB port. And so this is the new target will show up if it will refresh. And now we can see that as a device that you can target directly from the IDE. So all you have to do now is run on the device, and it's going to take a little time. I actually cut this video a little bit, and then the application will start on the Lumia phone. This is a phone. It's just a remote screen for the phone. It's not like an emulator or anything. So the application is there. You can press on the button, and nothing happens because I haven't written any code in the application. So that's the actual code we want to execute when the button is pressed. Change the text of the label. So usual stuff, nothing special. And then I'm going to put the right quote in for the string, and then I'm going to re-execute the application, and in a second you'll have that updated application running on the Windows phone. Again, it requires Windows 10 phone, for which is still not released. It requires the Atoria bridge, which is still in beta, still being developed by Microsoft. So it's not, we can't claim official support because it's still a preview of a technology, but we are monitoring and tracking it. And as soon as it's released, we'll provide full support and actually enhance from what we have, which is just barely making things work. So FireMonkey platform, as you just mentioned, is a cornerstone platform. We have lots of sessions coming, focusing on our single source multi-device architecture, which is really unique in the industry. You can have style control. You can have a lot of platform native controls. We do ship a lot of compilers with the product for the different platforms and different bit resolutions of the CPUs, 32-bit and 64-bit for iOS and for Windows. So it is a unique proposition in the industry. It's really hard to match feature-wise.
What I have here is an Android tablet that's running on a Intel Atom processor. This was a $99 tablet I picked up online, cheapest one I could find. It will point out it is running Lollipop, so see it's Android version 5 here. So as of KitKat, which was Android 4.4, Intel has included libhoudini with their Atom-based devices. And libhoudini actually performs translation from ARM to x86 instructions. So in order to make this work, you come into your project option or deployment, and if you sort this by remote path to find its easiest, and we'll select for all Android configurations, you'll find in the library lib x86 folder, we deploy this libnative-activity.so. What this does is this actually detects the processor and says, oh, this device isn't supported. But if you remove it and then run this on your Android Atom processor device, it will run. So just a second here, it's going to compile and install the FireDAC IB Lite sample application here on this Atom processor device. It does take maybe a second or two longer to start up than normal, but of course that could be because of the fact this is a low-end tablet. What we see here is the IB Lite FireDAC sample running on the Atom-based processor device here, and I can, I'll do it via the tablet here. Add a new item. And I can select the item and delete it. So there we go. Support for Android Atom-based devices is now available in Rad Studio 10 Seattle.
So that was Jim McKeith that had this small guest piece, and actually he's here with me, so if there's any follow-up question, he can certainly answer more. So the thing that we wanted to point out, we have an incredible support for iOS and Android. The question that always came up is, yes, what about other smaller side platforms, including Windows Phone, which is currently a hefty 3% of the market share? Or what about the Intel devices? There are not many out there, but there are some Android Intel devices. And our goal is to really be able to reach out throughout all of these platforms, directly or indirectly with the best technology that's available at the time. The performance need to be there, but the performance is there both on the Nokia Lumia and on the Atom devices. So we can really target almost 100% of the mobile space, because even BlackBerry has Android emulation support. So don't worry about the reach in the mobile space. We have it there. Just focus on the great features that we have in our technology. So let me spend another literally 2 minutes going over the one thing that's important for the product. I mean, in the past, we used really to create more of a monolithic product. So all of the technologies that we had were just shipping in some of the SKUs, maybe the higher end, the enterprise, or whatever. Now we're taking a slightly different approach. Rather than adding new features and having a higher price for everyone, or creating alternative intermediate SKUs like professional with mobile, with more components, with other bits. We kind of splitting it out a bit. So there is a core product, and then there are additional components. Some of these components are built and sold by Embarcadero. Some of them are built by others, and we just resell them and package them together. So very shortly, and I'm not even going to cover all of them because there are just too many things. I guess you know about Interbase Server, the Interbase to Go smaller engine that can actually run on mobile, providing encryption on the mobile database, which is an absolutely fundamental feature if there's any sensitive data. Enterprise Mobility Services, there will be a few sessions covering it. We can get the details. It's a great REST library platform. Beacon Fans is another great technology that has a lot of coverage throughout code range. It's really a great technology for helping with understanding where a phone is moving within indoor, even large indoor building. The four that I want to just mention shortly are App Analytics, which is great technology for capturing the usage scenario of the information. If you haven't done so, you can head to appanalytics.embarcadero.com. You already have a free account as an Embarcadero user. You can sign up for the low-level tier, which is completely free, and start using and playing with App Analytics to see if it provides value. But I'm pretty sure it does, because being able to understand how your users are using the product, how many times, on which version, which operating systems, and have lots of details of tracking what users are doing is really fundamental for growing a product. The other thing which is new from this summer is we acquired and we're now producing and selling the VCL controls from Ray Konopka Signature VCL controls. This is an astonishing set of general purpose VCL controls. It's really an incredible set of controls, very absolutely great quality, and specifically in terms of visual implementation. They full support styling, they full support Windows 10. There are 125 general purpose controls backed by more than 100 IDE designers. So it's really an unbelievable controls collection. We also have the full version of CodeSight. We ship the light version with the product, but the full version, CodeSight Studio, that you can buy for recent but also past versions of RAD Studio, is now produced and sold by Embarcadero. And it's a great way to understand the issues that your customers bump into, with the ability to create logs on their systems or do real-time remote logging and profiling. The other thing that we just announced, and there will be a session later on to provide an overview, is the RAD Solution Pack. This is a collection of first-party components, or components we build, and components that are built by other partners in the industry, like Schema, Fast Report, Wall-to-Wall. And so this is the ultimate package in terms of providing support in different areas: reporting, business graph, VCL controls, analytics, and others. And there is a VCL version. If you're just focused on VCL, there's a FireMonkey version, and there is a version that bundles the two sides together. And with this, just a final slide on the summary of where Delphi 10 Seattle is, the fastest way to build visually engaging applications for Windows 10, specifically Windows 10, but also, of course, Mac and mobile, hyper-connected with Bluetooth, Bluetooth LE, app tethering, beacons, and ready for Internet of Things, the incredible Windows 10 support, and twice the power in the IDE, and 10 times the stability in the IDE for building larger projects. That's all I had. I think we do have a short amount of time for questions, so if there's anything coming up. Again, we don't want to answer questions around specific technology that are covered later in the in Code Rage. There are 3 days packed with information, so I really suggest you to stay online as much as you can, and because yeah, I mean, you'll be able to get the replays, but the interaction, the Q&As with the R&D team that is presenting some sessions and other MVPs and evangelists is going to be very helpful.
Okay, so there's a question here. Are we planning to continue supporting iOS device development, or are we moving all to Android and Windows 10 mobile?
No, iOS is absolutely cornerstone. We have just announced support for iOS 9. There is a fixed 2PA server that is free download for everyone on 10 Seattle to fully embrace iOS 9. We have plans for supporting other devices in the Apple iOS space, so even beyond the standard iPhones and iPads. So no, it's full speed ahead on iOS.
So I wanted to verify that Android x86 Atom is now supported in Delphi 10 Seattle. Is that correct?
We don't have a formal support for it. We're currently making tests and experimenting, but from the experiments that we've done, most of the applications will work. There might be some corner cases, there might be some issue. We're still doing some investigation, and we do have communication with Intel around those. So we do file them bugs when something comes out, and they tend to be very reactive in improving and fixing libhood. You need to have 100% compatibility with Android ARM native applications.
Are there any plans to add multi-device view support for VCL 32 on Delphi?
No, that's not currently in the plans. It's something we can certainly consider. There's been some internal discussions about making it easier to build VCL applications that encompass, very large, very small monitors, different resolutions. So it's not as pressing as on the mobile platform, where differences between device form factors and operating system are huge, but it's certainly something that could be considered in the future.
What is the Universal Windows Platform? Can you elaborate on that?
Universal Windows Platform is mostly a marketing term from Microsoft. It's a way to tag applications that are first-class citizen on Windows 10, and also applications that will be able to be distributed through the Windows 10 store, either for the desktop or for the mobile. Now, the name comes from the fact that there are technologies within Microsoft that allow you to create a single application, a single binary, if you want to call it that way, although it's not technically, that can really run across different CPUs and different form factors. However, for example, through using the bridges, an Astoria bridge application, and in the future, a VCL Centennial application will be first-class citizen, will be able to access any APIs, will be able to be distributed through the Windows Store and sold through the Windows Store. That's something that never happened in the past. So these applications using bridges are still first-class citizen and universal Windows platform application, even if you have a different binary depending on the target.
Is Linux support still on the roadmap?
Indeed.
Do you have any news about DevExpress support?
No, we don't have news at this point.
I know that it has about FireMonkey. I know they've talked about supporting FireMonkey. I remember they a couple years ago announced that. So yeah, check with them. They'll have the updates on that. How do I upgrade Raise Component 6 license to Canopka signature controls? I'm not 100% sure of the details. You need to move to the Embarcadero license. I think the same version with the license is free, but you have to pay into the mandatory update subscription for the control. But I can get
more information.
We'll probably talk to someone in sales would be.
Yeah.
Is the roadmap been updated? If so, where's the link?
No, the roadmap is not currently updated. The last roadmap is the one we published in, I think, March or April. It lists basically all of the features that we delivered in XE8 and 10 Seattle. It does have a section about what's coming next, which is still quite accurate. We are in the process of finalizing some of the planning for the next year, and at that point, we'll probably provide an update of the roadmap.
Does our Windows 10 support include support for beacons and Bluetooth LE on Windows 10?
No, we currently don't support Bluetooth LE on Windows 10. We've done some technical investigations. It's a little tricky because the support that Windows 10 provides is not exactly like a standard support that's aligned with what's available on other platforms. Microsoft is apparently going to fix it and improve it a bit to make it more standard in terms of support. Some of the discovery, some of the mechanisms are actually not there. We're investigating. There are ways for us to work around those limitations. So we certainly plan to have support for Bluetooth LE and beacons on Windows. It's just that the platform is like almost there, but not yet. And this seems true for other platforms like Android. If you want to have full support for beacons, you really need to be on a very recent version of Android. Like 4.4 is covered, but there are some of the features, for example, turning your phone into a beacon. That is a new component that's part of 10 Seattle. That's actually Lollipop only, or of course, and Marshmallow.
So here's a question on some other OSs about Apple Watch and TV OS. I'm guessing Apple TV OS, if there's any.
We are investigating other Apple platform/operating systems.
How about Chromium?
Chromium is a nice technology. We have been looking into it. There is an open source project that does support Chromium today on Windows, so it's something that you can certainly consider using. We are evaluating options to bring the support into RAD Studio directly, if we want to say so. But again, it's an open source project out there that can certainly be used for building applications that use Chromium rather than Internet Explorer engine.
How about 64 bits for OS 10?
That's certainly a feature that we have in the roadmap. It's kind of a high relevance. And it's part of the work to really overhaul our Mac platform support overall. That's, again, one of the platforms we want to support. Might not be the first platform we end up supporting out there because, as someone asked, there is another one that is really relevant for us, which is Linux. But it's a platform that we are looking forward to support.
So a question here about security for sensitive apps. We do have a security session, a few security sessions in the schedule. So
yeah, there's at least one session coming on specifically focused on that.
How about are there going to be more fetchers in the refactoring coming?
That's something that's being evaluated. We got some nice refactoring technology from the Castelli acquisition, and some of them haven't been actually rolled into the product. So there's an ongoing process to reconsider, overhaul the entire refactoring area. It's one important thing that we have in mind in terms of extending the IDE. There are a couple of others that you are going to like, but this one is something that's on the table.
So Jens saying, RAD Studio is unbeatable in native approach world. Are there any plans for an equally strong support for browser interfaces?
No, right now we don't have a strong focus on HTML, JavaScript browser interfaces, but we're considering options in the web space, and getting to Linux. We might want to. We are reconsidering some of our web support overall, but right now it's not the focus of the product.
What's the difference between the components that come from RAD Studio and the RAD Solution Pack?
RAD Solution Pack has a wealth of components. If there are some overlap. For example, there is a basic T chart and there is a basic version of fast report in that comes with RAS Studio, but it's extremely feature limited. The version you can get with a RAP solution pack is like the complete product, not just the light free version that ships with RAS Studio. And the same is true for CodeSight. So there is a huge gap in terms of actual features that are part of these components or component sets from the version that comes with the product to the full version.
So with the current performance advancements, can FireMonkey be used as a cross-platform game engine?
Well, yes and no. I mean, if you're using FireMonkey, you probably if you're building for a game, you probably don't want to use primarily the UI controls. So you might want to use different models. We have support for Box2D since XE8. Graphic capabilities are there, and the performance seems to be fine. There's been a few small games released based on FireMonkey, but again, not really using the FireMonkey UI controls, but just painting on the core canvas.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty good, cool-looking games actually, but yeah, it's not really designed for. FireMonkey's all about UI controls, really. Well, it has 3D and all other stuff too, but it's fairly robust. But yeah,
I mean the core FireMonkey architecture, it's a cross-platform engine that allows you to do anything. If you think about T-button and controls, that is more focused for like business line applications. I mentioned a couple of things about IDE, like refactoring and other things. I don't know if Luis has anything to add there.
No, I think I answered most of the questions. I think that one of the key focus on the IDEs on improve the productivity, and is going to keep the focus for the next releases.
Great. Here's a question: is debugging breakpointing in code supported in the phone USB session that Marco showed?
With the Lumia, I'm not sure. I've tried. So
they say it should be, because it is. The way it works is it's connecting it to the ADB bridge, which is what's used for Android.
Yeah, theoretically it should work. Now, I haven't tried in practice, so it's at times from practice. And again, and it's a beta bridge. I mean, we've seen a few components that currently don't work, but having asked Microsoft to say, this is just like a shortcoming. This should work. The only application I got that really crashed was an application using advertising. Which is not surprising because that's a Google API. However, Microsoft states that they are going to provide 100% compatible advertising API. So in theory, in the future, with the new beta, it should work. If not, it will replace advertising with some other components.
Yeah, that's exciting.